Welcome to Happy Death Day. Picture this: early 1800s Louisiana. Swamps, mosquitoes built like drones. Laws? Optional. And in the middle of all that chaos, one smooth-talking outlaw making money, dodging governments, and somehow ending up a war hero. Yeah, that guy. Jean freaking Lafitte. Pirate, smuggler, Patriot, walking felony with good PR. Nobody really knows where Lafitte came from. France? Caribbean? Mystery character with no origin story unlocked. But by the early 1800s, he and his brother Pierre built a smuggler empire in Barataria Bay, just south of New Orleans. This wasn't a town. This was pirate Amazon Prime. They moved stolen ship cargo, illegal goods, and enslaved people. Yeah, that part's dark and real. The Gulf Coast was deep in the illegal slave trade, and Lafitte was part of that ugly system. Merchants in New Orleans acted outraged in public, then pulled up at night like, "So, what's the discount?" Lafitte wasn't some sloppy stereotype either. He dressed well, spoke multiple languages, ran books like a businessman, bribed officials, managed supply chains. He didn't just steal, he optimized. The U.S. government tried to shut him down, but every time they raided Barataria, Lafitte slipped away into the swamps like your tax refund. Then 1814 rolls around. War of 1812. Britain wants New Orleans. So the British reach out to Lafitte like they're recruiting for a very illegal job interview. They offer money, land, a fancy military title. Basically, "Hey, we see you're already committing crimes. Wanna upgrade?" Now, Lafitte has a choice. Join the British or play this smarter. Plot twist. He goes to the Americans and tells them the whole plan. "Hey, just so you know, the British tried to hire me. Thought you'd want to hear that. Also, maybe don't arrest me?" This man negotiated his criminal charges before committing treason. That's elite survival instinct. Enter Andrew Jackson, future president. Full-time anger issues. Jackson does not trust Lafitte at all. But he needs weapons, cannons, and men who know how to shoot without asking for permission slips. Guess who has all of that? At the Battle of New Orleans in 1815, Lafitte's men help man American artillery positions. And they don't just help, they dominate. The British thought they were fighting farmers and militia. Nah, they ran into swamp pirates with combat experience and zero fear of consequences. The Americans pull off a massive victory, one of the biggest upsets of the war. And just like that, Jean Lafitte gets a full presidential pardon. Let that sink in. Man went from wanted criminal to war hero in one campaign. Record wiped, reputation upgraded. You'd think that's where he retires, maybe buys a house, starts a shipping company that's legal for once. Nope. He disappears for a bit, then pops back up in Galveston, Texas. At the time, Texas is basically the Wild West with more humidity. Lafitte sets up another base. This time, he calls himself a privateer, which is pirate, with paperwork. Ships passing through the Gulf were like, "Is that a legal patrol vessel, or are we about to get robbed?" Answer: yes. He keeps raiding ships, selling cargo, and running his little coastal empire like a franchise location of crime. But eventually, the U.S. government remembers. Oh right, this guy is still a pirate. In 1821, the U.S. Navy shows up near Galveston with a very clear message. "Sir, we pardoned you once." Lafitte looks at the situation and decides not to fight a losing battle. Instead, he pulls off one of the most dramatic exits in pirate history. He burns his own settlement to the ground and sails away. That's not retreating. That's rage quitting with fire effects. And after that, Jean Lafitte basically vanishes. No confirmed death, no official grave, no clean ending. Some say he died in a naval battle. Some say disease got him. Some say he changed his name and lived quietly somewhere far away. There are even legends he buried treasure and lived under a fake identity, which might be true, or might be 1800s clickbait. History just kind of shrugs and says, "Tracking error, pirate not found." And maybe that's the most fitting ending possible. Because Jean Lafitte wasn't just a pirate. He was a hustler, a strategist, a professional rule bender. He smuggled illegal goods, helped win a major American battle, got pardoned, went back to piracy, then disappeared like he owed history money. So was he a villain? Absolutely. Was he also technically a patriot? Annoyingly, yes. Did he play both sides whenever it helped him? 100%. Jean Lafitte is the only guy who could rob you, help save your country, then rob someone else on the way out, and still end up a legend. That's not a redemption arc. That's a career pivot. Jean Lafitte, the only man who could commit felonies, win a war, get pardoned, and still leave history on read. And honestly, that's legendary behavior. And just like that, the tide rolls out on a real one. Jean Lafitte, smuggler king, battlefield wild card, professional line stepper, lived fast, played both sides, and never asked permission from anybody breathing. History says he finally checked out on February 5, 1823. No grand funeral, no marble statue moment, just a pirate's ending. Out at sea, swallowed by the same waters that made him a legend. And honestly, that fits. So today, we don't light birthday candles. We raise a ghostly toast to a man who turned crime into a career path and somehow put war hero on the resume. Happy Death Day, Jean freaking Lafitte. Subscribe for tomorrow's Death Day. And remember, death is guaranteed. History is optional.